Frank, hello, how are you?
Hi Ian, good, thank you.
Good. Let's have a bit of an all-encompassing team news question. You had some concerns before the international break with Christian Pulisic and Kai Havertz. Has everyone come back okay? Do you have any positive tests? How are things with bench in the world? Thiago Silva, can you go to Newcastle? Just fill us in.
Okay. Christian Pulisic is not fit for Newcastle, but he's stepped up his training slowly. It's been quite a problematic injury, so we'll stay cautious. Kai Havertz is back from isolation, is over, tested negative 2 days ago, so he's just started training with us, more on his own actually, to get individually some of his fitness back. It's been 2 weeks at home. Thiago Silva has just landed. He just messaged me this afternoon, so he probably won't be going to Newcastle because of the length of the journey and timings, etc. We're still waiting on some results from the test that we now have to do as the players have arrived back from their internationals. Unfortunately, some of our players are arriving back this afternoon. Some played last night. So with the 12:30 kick-off on Saturday, there's clearly a lot of challenges for us.
Mason Mount made 3 starts for England during this international break. It's now 5 starts for England in a row. How impressed have you been with his development as an international, and are you at all concerned about the amount of football that he's playing?
Well, I'm impressed with his development, and I think it shows you how much Gareth and Steve rely on him and trust in him. I have done for my time in management, to be honest, and I think it's nice to have seen a lot of positivity around Mason. I think it's well deserved, and maybe because he's not a player that, or maybe he's a player that has more quality passes and pressing moments in a game than a show reel of step overs and flicks. Maybe that's not as exciting to the modern fan, but for us managers of him, I think you can see how much we rely on him. I get Gareth's position in playing him. He's played 3 games. He was the only player in the England squad of all the European playing players at club level that played 3 games. So I know it adds to his games, but I understand Gareth's position, and I understand what where he will be with that. The good thing about Mason is he's a great attitude. He's a fit young man. And we'll have a lot of games coming up which I'll need him to be fit for.
Did you cope with it?
I hope so, yeah. He did, yeah. At the moment he'll be coming back to train this afternoon, and when I say he'll cope with it, I mean I have to look at each player in their own respect in terms of rotation and minutes in game, substitutions, when they can come on and when they can play, because our schedule has never been busier. There's never been more of a pressure on players. But I can't sit here and say that Gareth Southgate shouldn't make the decisions he makes when he's England manager and the position he's in. So that's just a part of the story. But as I say, with Mason, I hope that he comes through fresh, because at the minute he's in great form.
5 substitutes have been reintroduced by the EFL. The Premier League managers had a meeting yesterday. It was discussed. Where do you stand, and do you think we are any closer to having 5 subs in the Premier League?
I think it's something we have to address again with all clubs. I know we had a vote early season. Nothing has changed in terms of our professional environment since when we had 5 subs in restart. In fact, some things have tightened up. The schedule has become even more hectic. There's been no relaxation around it, but we've gone back to 3 subs, and the reason maybe managers are not making those 3 subs so much in game, if people want to argue they're making 1 or 2, is because if you have 10 players that are you're fearful of tiredness in the latter stages of the game, to make that 3rd sub in 70 minutes is a danger zone that you might have an injury after that. So I think there are many things. My main concern, and I think it was flagged through and backed by a lot of managers, I don't want to go into the details of yesterday, but my main concern is the player welfare of the players that are under incredible stress, particularly players and clubs that are playing in Europe. It's every 3-4 days, week after week after week, and then we're not even at Christmas, and the Christmas schedule looks the same, and the international break is gone. I don't want anyone to cry their eyes out for players, because we know how lucky we are to do this job, but everywhere else in Europe and around the world, it seems, has 5 subs, and we at the moment don't. We have to revisit that, in my opinion.
Last question, please.
The PFA has this week announced the setting up of a new advisory group to look at how better to support former players who now have dementia. The recent news about Bobby Charlton, of course, but you played, your father played. How concerning is it, do you think?
Well, it's concerning. I spoke about this a couple of weeks ago. We have to support ex-players' families that are in this position, because at the time and the eras that they've played through, we weren't as advanced as we are now to have research, to have proper medical insights into potential reasons that why dementia has been brought on for some of these players. So we have to support them, but we also have to act now and make sure that we are not just sitting on a problem and not trying to improve it. So I'm fully backing any case, any movement that looks further into this, and firstly helps players of eras gone by that are suffering and their families. Secondly, looks at players now, and thirdly, looks at the future.
Moose. Hi Frank, how are you?
Good, thanks, Moose.
Frank, we've had Oliver Dowden on Talk Sport.
I heard, Moose. I heard.
Okay, well, what are your thoughts? I mean, are you more optimistic now that maybe we'll get fans back in before Christmas? Do you think that that's the way to go forward, to have fans tested, to make sure they're negative to get them in? I mean, how do you think it could work, and are you more optimistic this lunchtime, having heard what he told Talk Sport?
I am optimistic. I haven't heard him speak, and I think it's something where the government haven't been vocal enough on, for whatever reason. I think we as a public and in the sport want to know whether it's positive or negative. Today is the most positive I've heard an answer from the government. It wasn't factual, and I understand why not, because it has to be safe first and foremost before we can have fans back in the stadium. But when you see other areas of life at the moment where we are having gatherings that are controlled, that are safe environments, then of course at football we have to look at it and try and get it back as quickly as we can in that safe environment. So I'm positive. I thought it was a very good interview. I appreciated listening to his words, and let's hope they get acted upon and it is safe and fans are back to whatever level to start off with.
As you rightly outlined with your team news, you're still waiting for players to be tested for COVID after coming back from international duty. But we have seen 16 players that didn't go away from international duty in the Premier League test positive in the latest batch of tests. Is that to be expected? Is that a worry for you now as a manager that's the highest number we've had?
I think it's a concern, but isn't it a concern in modern life? I think now we're in lockdown, but before that schools went back, life was resuming with a sense of normality, but not quite. And I think we've seen it in our world where some cases have started to go up again, and I don't see why football should be any different. Maybe 16 is not a huge number with the amount of people that are being tested. We try and keep our bubbles as strict as we can. We've done that all along from the beginning of restart. So let's just hope that those numbers don't continue to go up and come down again.
And last one, I was lucky enough to catch up with Callum after he started again for England's under-21, scoring in the 5-0 win over Albania on Tuesday. I mentioned the fact that we could win the league this year, title contenders, and he didn't disagree with me.
He's a young man. He's excited. I get it, and I like confidence. I like the players feeling like that. I'm delighted with Callum going away and playing and scoring goals. And for me, as a young developing player, your performances like that, when you have Callum's talent, will always be a reflection of how you train and prepare and all those things. So it's brilliant news for us, for Callum. As for us as a team, my job is to dampen what he said there and say that we know there's a long way to go. We're 8 games in. We're in a decent position. Recently, we're playing well. But there's so many things that we have to keep working on improving before we can really start getting involved in that conversation. That's up to us.
John Southall, 5 Live.
Hi Frank, how are you?
Good, thanks.
A number of managers, Frank, have spoken about the fixture sheds. I think Pep did, Jurgen Klopp did, and I mean, you have to say Newcastle away at 12:30 on a Saturday when you've just got some of your players back and you may not have them all back isn't probably the best, is it?
No, it's not. I have to be honest with it, and I will be honest with it. If you're talking about any team in the Premier League, we've been training with 4 players generally in these last 2 weeks. So the majority of our squad have been travelling. Some are travelling just landing now. They will travel again to fly up to Newcastle. They'll travel back from Newcastle. They'll fly to Rennes on Monday. They'll fly back from Rennes. when you look at the scheduling, for me, it's just a common sense factor of, I think the broadcasters never had as many slots of games as they have now. That 12:30 slot, how much does it need to be there? If you are looking over the course of a season, I don't know how many times we return from international duty. I don't know, is it 5 through the season? With clubs that have got players going over there, it's absolutely not the optimum way to have players preparing for a Premier League game, which is an incredible brand all around the world. So you want the best of the brand, and it's very difficult for us to prepare for this game anywhere near where we are preparing to our best. I want us to play to our best, but it's very difficult circumstances.
I mean, what is the answer? Do you as managers speak with the Premier League, speak with broadcasters, and also just another one? How worried are you? You touched on it a minute ago. That players are going to pick up injuries. Obviously, they've had a really busy schedule. They've had the international break. You've now got 9 games coming up in a month as well. How concerned are you about
I'm
that?
concerned because it's across the Premier League. The injuries are going up across the Premier League. Muscle injuries are going up. The numbers are there if the Premier League want to go and look at them closely. So it's clear there's a correlation of games, game after game after game. 0 pre-season. The schedule is tighter. Throughout the season, there will be these really busy patches. And if we want to handle them as best we can, if we want to look after the players and get the product as well as we can, change the time of 12:30. Change the time. That's not a difficult conversation for me to have. The amount of things we changed due to COVID and Project Restart, and now in this season that we had to change because these are incredible times, then we have to continue looking for the best way to change it. So the answer is stop talking and act upon it.
How many players do you think you'll have missing on Saturday?
I don't know yet. We are assessing today, so I will say.
Last one, John.
That's it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John. Thank you.
Olivia from PLP. Unmute yourself, Olivia. Thank you.
Sorry, hello.
Hi.
Just quickly, you spoke about leadership on a podcast this week. What do you think is the most important trait when it comes to leadership and management?
Wow. You caught me with that one. I was going to talk about 5 subs or something, some more. I mean, there are so many facets to it. I think as a leader, you obviously have to, in simple terms, you have to be somebody that the team wants to follow, and you have to set a marker for it. But I think a modern day leader has to be somebody that also is, first and foremost, close quarters to their players, and we talk about man management as we will talk about over the years, where I think that is such a huge part of your job. So when we have a squad now, and I look at our squad, which is a really strong squad, I also have to make sure I'm close to all the players professionally and slightly off the pitch as well, so that I can try and get the best out of them individually to make the collective the best. So man management and being pretty humble. I think a humble leader for me was always someone I would have reacted to that was very open to regular conversations with their players.
And obviously on the Newcastle game, Chelsea haven't got the greatest away record against Newcastle in the Premier League. Obviously, I know it's important not to underestimate anyone, but even more so Newcastle, given what happened in this fixture last season. And you mentioned fans, obviously being at games. Do you think this could maybe go in your favour, no fans being at St James's Park, because it's such a big stadium?
I'm not sure about the fans. I don't know the answer to the fans one for any game, let alone Newcastle. I think sometimes home fans can bring a pressure, make a team that want to play counter-attacking football feel like they can't do, or different things. So I'm not sure about the fans. But I do know that Newcastle is always a very difficult game. I played in those games and they were difficult. Particularly for us, we had the difficulties of the early kickoff. I'm not using it as an excuse. It's just a fact and a factor for us. And Steve Bruce is a great manager who deserves huge credit for the job he's done there already and organises his team brilliantly. So it's a tough game on all fronts.
Last two, James Ollie and Jerry Cox. James.
Hi Frank. Just wanted to check on Ben Chilwell and his fitness. And secondly, you said recently that you were sort of looking at ways to manage Christian Pulisic. Do you feel you've found the answer to that yet? Whether it's a more kind of tailored training program, or are you still sort of searching for the answer on that one?
Yeah, with Ben Chilwell, I haven't seen him yet. He stayed with England, as you know, he was on the bench last night, obviously getting fantastic care with England, so I'll see him this afternoon, but he was improving, hence he was on the bench. So I'm positive that he'll be okay, but I'll have to see him later on today or straight after this. With Christian, we're still searching. He's in a position at the moment where, as I said, he's had a problematic injury. And I think it's normal. Not every player is different. I think Christian had a history before coming to us of some muscular injuries. He's had them again. Everything about Christian and how he is around the training ground and how he prepares and how much he wants to play is perfect. So we need to try and find the right balance between playing and resting and maintenance during the week to try and get the best out of him. He's a young player still. It's not abnormal, and we will find a solution. And I don't want to make more of it than it is, because we want as many games out of Christian as we can possibly get because of his ability. But at the minute he's injured, and so on that in the short term it's a work in progress. But we have a great medical team here, and we're very much joined up in the idea of getting the best for Christian to get him fit as much as we can.
Last question, Jerry Cox.
Hi Frank, you okay?
Yes, good, Jerry, thank you.
Good. You say Thiago's likely to miss out tomorrow. Given Newcastle have always got that aerial threat with Andy Carroll, how important is Kurt Zouma's form at the moment? I think the stats showing that he's won more aerial duels than any player in the Premier League, possibly in Europe this season. So.
Yeah, I saw that stat, and I'm not surprised, but it's a fantastic stat at the level that it's at, and he has to sustain that, and he will be very important, and he's been important for us this season at both ends of the pitch for that. It's something I think we looked at in off-season. We could have been better at times last season, particularly in defending our own box, and that's a standard we need to keep. There are reasons why we've had a decent run of some clean sheets and conceding less goals. That's a factor in it, and Kurt's been a big part of that. But every centre-back and actually every player on our team has to be switched on to the aerial threat when you're coming up teams that have individuals that can obviously be dangerous for you in the games.